Good morning and welcome to the programme. We have a lot coming up on the show today. If you want to text us in, please do. Text or WhatsApp 083 3333 975. The big item this week was the commemoration ceremonies that have been deferred, and if you want to give your view about what implications this might have for the upcoming elections, please let us know. We're going to be talking to David Cullinan about the hospital beds and the news that there's going to be new beds in Dungarvan. If you are a patient at University Hospital Waterford, would you be happy to travel to Dungarvan every day to visit your loved one in hospital? Is this a way to deal with the problem? Dr. Pat Lynch is coming on from WIT to talk about the 1.34 million in funding for a new lean industry facility, it's called. We'll let you know about all that. Ian Power is going to be talking to us about this new behavioural study in school children. There's an increase of 6% in the numbers who say they've never had an alcoholic drink in the last 6 years for children. What's your view about it? What do you think about it? Is there too many children drinking excessively if they do go binge drinking? Or is it actually getting better? Also, you can call Audrey on 051 846 123. William Smith from City Vets is coming in just after 11 o'clock to talk about vets and talk about dogs in particular. A big study in ageing in dogs has just started in the United States. They're hoping to use dogs as a model for ageing in humans. We want to know, particularly from dog owners, about your dog and little, I think, things that the dog does that you you love or you really annoy you or that you want to get sorted. If you have any questions for him, please text us. You can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter as well. David Cullinan, Sinn Féin TD, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Thank you for joining.
Happy New Year to you and your listeners.
Many happy returns. You're talking to us from the Oireachtas, from your office up there. Do you think you'll still have an office up there in 2 months' time?
Well, it looks like we'll have an election certainly in the next couple of months, if not weeks, Damien, and whether I'm returned as a TD will be a matter for the people of Waterford. I look forward to the election being called whenever that is called, and I will obviously fight that election campaign on its merit, on my own merit and my track record, and I will leave it to the voters to decide who's returned and not returned, Damien.
Do you think there's still a lot of speculation? The latest, I was talking to a Fine Gael member just in the last few minutes. He thinks it's going to be the end of February. What's your gut feeling on it?
Yes, my gut feeling is that I don't see Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael agreeing to an election in April or May at this stage, because essentially it's a 3 or 4 month election campaign. I don't think that suits the government party especially, so I think we are heading for an election, possibly one called in the next couple of weeks, and then maybe the end of February or maybe even earlier than that. But I certainly can't see it going beyond that. I think in the next 7 or 8 weeks, the people will be going to the polls. And
I think that will probably be Fianna Fáil pushing the government into that position, because if I was a Fine Gael member, I'd be looking to hold on until April because of the RIC stuff, the black and tan stuff, also the hospital waiting lists. You'd have the bounce of going over to America during the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. So I think it's maybe Fianna Fáil saying, that's it, we've had enough.
Well, listen, Damien, I've always said that the government parties, and including Fianna Fáil, will choose an election date of their liking and of their making. So it was never going to be a case that the opposition would decide when the election was going to be. We obviously have our job to do to hold the government to account, and from Sinn Féin's perspective, it was not just to hold Fine Gael to account, but Fianna Fáil kept Fine Gael in power for 4.5 years. So all those issues you talked about could only happen if those ministers were left in their jobs. And of course, we're going to talk about health in a minute. The Minister for Health was kept in his job for 4 years because Fianna Fáil allowed that to happen. And all these issues will be rehearsed in the election campaign. I look forward to going toe-to-toe with all of the candidates from all parties. I wish them all well at the start of the campaign, Damien, but once the campaign is on, we have a job to do to put out our
the gloves are off.
Policies, our vision, and I'll stand on my track record. And I've always promised the people I'll fight a positive campaign when an election is called. I'll stand on my track record, and it's up to the people then to decide whether or not they want me returned and who else they want returned to the Dáil.
The figures this morning: more than 540 beds are blocked. I hate that word, by patients who are well but stuck in hospitals in a week where the trolley crisis has reached a record high. So says Eilish O'Regan, the health correspondent in the Irish Independent. University Hospital Waterford, it's not the worst in the country, but that doesn't mean it's any good in the sense of to have 24 people on trolleys is still 24 people too many. Now, we just heard Grace Rothwell on the bulletin there, the manager of the hospital, saying that when a patient has been deemed medically fit for discharge at UHW, they'll be asked to avail of a bed at the new Care Choice nursing home in Dungarvan. So University Hospital Waterford has received funding for 30 beds. Is that correct?
That's correct. So essentially, Damien, the figures were released last week where the Minister announced that 199 additional beds would be made available for a short time for between 8 and 10 weeks, and that those beds would be acute hospital beds to deal with the flu epidemic and the January emergency, I suppose, which happens every year. We have a winter emergency in our acute hospitals. Now, 199 beds is a very small amount, but in any event, 30 of those beds were earmarked for Waterford. So I sought a breakdown of where those beds were to be located, and when I got the list, it had 30 beds, but for Dungarvan and not for University Hospital Waterford. I contacted the hospital management to find out how many beds, additional beds, we would have for University Hospital Waterford, and what she said was that that the hospital received an email, I think on the 20th of December, so it was about a week before Christmas, to say that the department were making available money for additional beds and how much money was required from the hospital, how many beds could they open. And the response from the hospital manager was none, because they weren't in a position to open any beds because they don't have the staff. And given the short time frame that these beds were to be opened in the second week of January and closed again, by the way, in the middle of March, so it's between 8 and 10 weeks depending on the hospital, that they weren't in a position in that short turnaround to recruit the staff that was necessary to open any beds in the hospital, which meant that the only course of action open to hospital management, and I don't blame hospital management for this, I think Grace did the right thing, was to block 30 beds in a nursing home, a private nursing home in Dungarvan, and use those as acute beds to relocate patients from University Hospital Waterford to this private nursing home in Dungarvan.
Let's just explain this. We have a situation that the manager of a hospital is left in a situation because of the recruitment embargo and the lack of staff. Now, they did recruit nurses over Christmas for the Dunmore wing, but it takes time before they can start. They have to be Garda vetted, etc. She's told Liz on our news team. She basically had to go out and sort of say, OK, where can we get a few beds? Like, this is a farcical situation. The idea that a hospital manager is going to have to go looking around and saying, and then just by chance in a way, Care Choice is opening up in Dungarvan. So she block books beds for 8 weeks. And then you have the cost associated with that. So you can reveal the cost here this morning, how much it's going to cost.
Yes, the cost would be €1,000 a week per bed. So for 30 beds, it's €30,000 a week. So over the course of 10 weeks, if it is 10 weeks, that's €300,000 of taxpayers' money, which will go to a private nursing home. Now, as I said, I don't blame the hospital manager, Damien, because she has to make sure that she gets capacity wherever she can get it. The problem is that we have, as you know, a state-of-the-art building, 5 stories. The bottom 2 floors will cater for the palliative care unit. There was money made available by the Minister for Health in the budget to recruit staff for the palliative care. But we have 3 floors which have 72 specialised acute beds. They are single isolation beds that are of top quality, and just before Christmas, the hospital management were able to relocate some staff from some existing wards to open the top floor. But we have 2 floors that have beds in them. It's a building that's finished, and that the hospital manager was not able to open those beds. So money was made available to open 30 beds in the hospital. And even though we have a brand new unit that the taxpayer paid for to be able to provide beds for patients, that the hospital manager was not in a position to recruit the staff in time. And the point here is, Damien, is this. Everybody knew for months that we were going to have a winter emergency. Hospital managers knew it.
We know it every year,
yeah. The people, it comes every year. So why was it the 20th of December that an email was sent to hospital managers to say that you can now have the money to open the beds? If they had been made aware of that in September, or even sooner than that, they could have recruited agency staff or recruited staff on a short-term basis to enable them to open the wards. But I find it extraordinary that we have a new state-of-the-art unit on the grounds of the hospital. People pass it every day. They can see it. It's still not even semi-operational. Yes, there was some money available both for opening acute beds and for the palliative care beds. But it is absolute madness that we have about 50 beds in that ward that are there, physically there, 2 wards that could be opened. And yet the hospital has to get money from the HSE and then use that money to purchase beds in a private nursing home in Dungarvan,
and again,
where patients will have to be relocated from Waterford City to Dungarvan. Do I blame hospital management? Absolutely not.
And do we blame
the private nursing home?
No, you do
Absolutely
not either,
not.
Because if you were in a position like that, you'd be delighted to say, OK, we've got full capacity for the next 10 weeks, we'd say. We're going to get 300,000 at least. We don't even know if that figure includes VAT. So there may be VAT on top of that. €1,000 per week a bed. That's not just the bed, that's obviously the staff that goes with it. So the Care Choice will say maybe that's good value, I don't know. But effectively, another €300,000 is going to go out of the public purse into the private sector because of lack of foresight and lack of proper planning.
But it's not even solving any problem, David.
No, it's
because
not.
The private nursing home that built the extension and that had the beds were providing those beds for long stay care, for geriatric care, for older people, in other words, people who need long-term nursing care. So what's going to happen now is that these beds will be used by the hospital, and hospital management will decide, obviously, which patients go in. So we're going to relocate and take hospital patients who are in beds at University Hospital Waterford, relocate them to this private nursing home in Dungarvan for about 2 months. And that means then that those patients who are waiting to go in, older people who need to access long-term care, won't be in a position to do so now, possibly until April. So we solve one problem and we don't even solve it in the right way, but we create a different problem. And it's all because of the complete lack of planning. And I'll go back to the point that it is the height of madness that capital funding is made available to build a state-of-the-art unit on the grounds of the hospital, which, by the way, a huge amount of money was fundraised by people in Waterford to fund the palliative care side of it. We got 72 new beds, but they're not new beds. None of them at this point in time are additional beds. I don't know exactly how much money was given to make those new beds, but we're told it could be up to 20 if they can recruit the staff. But in my view, all of those 72 beds should have been additional beds. And while the capital funding was given to build the unit, the revenue funding should also have been given to hospital management well in advance to recruit the staff, to enable them to increase the capacity. Because I've seen on one of the local newspapers, again, we have very senior hospital consultants saying that the accident and emergency chaos in the hospital is costing lives. And is certainly causing major problems and distress for patients. So we need the extra capacity.
We do.
And
David,
sorry, Damien.
Yeah, no, you're okay. I'm going to have to leave it there. Listen, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
No problem, Damien. Take care.
Thank you very much. David Cullinan there, Sinn Féin TD for Waterford. We've had a text in from Tom in the county. Another issue which people may have is that the care beds in Dungarvan could cause problems. I think half in jest here, says Tom. Half the people in the city won't be able to find their way to the Holy Cross, let alone Dungarvan. I think they will, Tom, especially if their loved ones are in hospital. Difficult situation for people, difficult situation for, you could say, the hospital staff and for hospital management. And it's just seems bizarre. Like, it's easy to spend other people's money. I've said that before. It's easy to spend other people's money. 300,000 is going to be spent providing 30 beds for maybe 10 weeks for people in Dungarvan. And we'll just have to watch this and see what happens. Let us know what you think, please. 083 3333 975. In a minute, we are going to be talking to Pat Lynch about some good news story. And if you're a business person or anybody's involved in innovation technology in Waterford, you'll really want to hear this. Now, we've had a text in from an angry Dungarvan listener. Dungarvan people have travelled to Waterford City for years. What's the problem? They're getting beds. That's an insult to Dungarvan people. Very strong text and well said, listener. Now, Minister John Halligan has announced almost €2 million for regional enterprise projects in the South East. This is out of a total of 40 million across the country. If you break that down in percentage, that's only 5%. Now, the population of the South East is a lot more than 5% of the country. So, again, we're not getting enough. 2 million is not bad. Of that, 1.3 million is going to be going to a development facility called Lean Industry, and Pat Lynch is going to tell us about it. It's here in Waterford. 247,000 to Wexford and another 400,000 to Carlow and Laois. So 1.3 million to this WIT-led facility. But it's not just WIT, and Pat Lynch is going to explain what this is all about. Dr. Pat Lynch, good morning.
Good morning, thank you, Damien.
Pat, who are you?
Well, I run a business technology and management research centre in Waterford Institute of Technology. I'm the centre director there.
This organisation called?
It's RICON.
How many would be on your team? Is it yourself and a few others?
Yeah. So we would have a team of about 30-odd people from all walks of life, like technologists, economists, business developers, and so forth. And really, at the end of the day, what we try to do is help companies grow, do some significant changes, do pivots, and then that they can actually then, expand and
so
grow.
how do you differ from, for example, the TSSG? Are you specifically orientated to the southeast rather than just Waterford? And also, is it a broader remit? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I suppose we're national first, and obviously the southeast and Waterford is obviously my home. But we're very focused as well on improving the business performance of organisations in the southeast. I suppose where we differ from the kind of like the Pacifics of like technology centres such as TSSG and SEAM is that we leverage what others do in order for business. So we would take a technology and apply it into a business in order for some business performance to happen. So in terms of what we do is that in RICON is that we would go into an organisation, we fix their inside of all their processes, efficiencies, and once we have that done, then we fix how they present themselves to the outside world in order for them to grow. So we're like the inside outside kind of guys.
And do you charge them for that? How does it work?
Yes, yeah.
Who pays your wages?
Yeah, an awful lot of the time companies can avail of government supports, and there is a lot of government supports out there. In fairness to the government agencies, Enterprise Ireland, IDA, the local enterprise offices, there's a lot of funding there that companies can avail of, and oftentimes companies don't know what funding is out there, but there is a lot of funding, and I would recommend anyone to just even have a gander, and then if they want to ask questions, they can either go into those organisations or they can come to ourselves, because we then specifically use certain types of those funds. So an awful lot of organisations can use funds like an Enterprise Ireland Innovation Voucher on a simple term, which is €5,000 to avail of services such as ourselves or TSSG or SEAM.
You think there's a lot of businesses that are not doing this?
There is a lot of companies that are not, and it's sometimes people. I think sometimes people think that okay, this is not for me. Oh God, what would I do? But sometimes coming in, even having coffee and conversations with people, help you think differently, open up your mind. And the way that in WIT, if we're not the right institute for you, we will put you in contact with one of the other institutes or the universities, because we all know one another anyway. And the ultimate thing is not about WIT making money or RICON making money. This is about helping organisations grow and do better. And if they can grow better by going to another institute up the country, no, there's no issue.
So are you WIT employees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Minister John Halligan has announced nearly $2 million for regional enterprise projects in the southeast. So this funding stream, 3 big projects, they're effectively going through yourselves, or how is this operating?
This project that we got in terms of the Lean Industry 4.0. What I would
explain that. What is Lean Industry 4.0?
Yeah, and that's it. So I'll break down the concept. Lean is really how it's removing any inefficiencies in how we do our jobs. And Industry 4.0 comes from Germany, and originally manufacturing. It's about using technology, data, sensors, Internet of Things, and simulation in production processes mainly. But now it's transferred into all walks of life, as we've all done our own thing. So what Lean Industry 4.0 is that we use data, technology, analytics and simulation to help organisations work smarter and better within their company. And this could be in a manufacturer, and it's easy to kind of visualise because it could be a production process, and we would go in and simulate those processes. But this could be like in any service. Like it could be even in this job, radio, hotel, like a booking system, when a customer walks in, or a customer experience. And in essence, what the beauty of this new laboratory that we're building is that a company can come in without changing anything in their real job. We can simulate it in a simulated world and run what if scenarios. What if I hired someone else? What if I put on another machine? What if I bought that machine? What would that actually do for me? Or if I bought a new computer system, it could be a CRM system or anything. We can test bed that before you actually invest anything in physical world.
How are you going to do that? As you say, you're setting up a laboratory?
Yeah, so this is a laboratory, state-of-the-art technology and facilities, and these all exist in Europe.
Laboratories, they think about white posts.
No, this is not like this, but it's a lab and a lot of computers. And in essence, like what we can do, and we do this anyway, we can go in and we can map business processes within organisations. We then digitise those, and if there's data associated, we can bring that into the process, and you can render it to any level, to the point that you can actually put on a headset and walk through your process. Now, not everyone needs that level of detail, but that's what this laboratory will be able to do. And I suppose then what the real thing here is that if you're thinking of making a big decision, or even a decision in your business, and you're unsure, this is a test bed. And that's what I think that's what this does. And we can remove, because we're kind of lean experts as well, on average, we know that we can remove inefficiencies. Most companies have about 30 to 40% inefficiencies in their business process anyway. We know we can remove about 15 to 25%, and that adds about 1% to the profit line, which is significant for any organisation.
You've got a grant approval for 1.3 million.
Yes.
Was that how much you looked for? Did you look for more?
No, yeah, that's how much we looked for, and we've got then contributions of another 400,000 or 500,000 on that. So the whole project is about 1.7 million.
And this money will be spent on developing, creating this lab.
Yes.
Making it what you want it to be.
Yes.
Fit for purpose, which then will facilitate and help companies change and improve.
It's a game changer for organisations in the southeast, and it's as simple as this. I was in one of these labs in Germany, in Fraunhofer, about 8 or 9 years ago, because the car manufacturing industry have been doing this for donkey's years, and this is the way that they're really automated. And I remember being in this lab, and I went, oh my God, like, we need one of these back. So it took me a while to kind of get it all together, but it's a phenomenal game-changing experience, because I think when people engage in it, they kind of see, hey, I do this anyway. Do and we do, and we're clever. The companies are clever, and once they can see how they can use it, they'll make better use of the lab even than what we will actually think of it actually at this moment in time, because companies are clever, they're ingenious, and they will come up with new ways of actually utilising the technology. And I suppose that's another thing. The technology to do this is actually quite expensive. So what we're facilitating is that we're providing access to this kind of state-of-the-art technologies for organisations. And I would like to stress as well, one of the things that we want to do this is that this is really kind of an open policy for SMEs in the southeast. Like, you don't have to come in and use Rycon. If you've got a consultant, we'll train the consultant on how to use the lab, and you and your consultant then can come in and, okay, you'll rent the space, but you use it yourself, and we won't have any engagement in that part.
Are there any other labs like this around the country?
There'd be kind of advanced kind of laboratories, like in the Irish Manufacturing Research Institute up in the Midwest, but not particularly like this for the type of companies that we have. In my kind of thinking, they would be very much like going for those kind of high top global organisations, and it's not to say that they can't use this lab either. However, oftentimes what we find in Ireland is that we have companies that have a mixture of old and new technologies, people, process and technologies. And what this lab does, it facilitates that interaction between people, process and technology. So it's unique, very unique in that sense. It's
great money. Are we still a bit underselling ourselves or less represented? We've just seen 28 million for the border region stimulus package. We still falling behind a little bit. We need to get more money.
Yeah, I would say we definitely need more money into the southeast. There's no. I would be an advocate of that.
But that then will create more. And
what I would say to them is that I think this project is a good example of a region coming together to do a project, so this is not, I want to stress, this is just not, this is a consortium of the region. It's the Southeast region actually that won this money, made up of councils, LEOs, the Economic Development Unit Southeast, CBIC, the endless number of organisations involved as well that have given time and money into Smith. So this is really a consortium. What this actually shows is that as a region, when we come together, we actually are really good at putting in, and the contribution that people gave to the development of this proposal is just, words can't describe what people have done for the North to secure this.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. No, it's a good story for the Southeast.
It's a great news story, and the very best of luck.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Thank you very much for that, Pat. In a minute, we're going to be talking to Jackie Windle all about health and fitness. Firstly, a few comments on that. The Minister Heather Humphreys announced just after the new year a 28 million stimulus package for the border region. You might have heard us, had myself talking about that. 28 million. So I still think we're not getting enough down the southeast. How come they're giving 28 million a stimulus package for the border region and not giving a lot of money for the southeast as well? Let us know what your thoughts and your views about that, please. Please text in 083 33 975, and also your thoughts about the new beds, the hospital beds that are going to be in Dungarvan. Let us know, please. 083 33 975, or if you want to call Audrey on 051 846 123. Jackie, will we start by doing a few burpees?
Good morning.
You hate the burpees, do you?
Yes, absolutely, as does everybody. But they say if you hate something, you should do it twice. So they must be good for you.
OK, stay there. Don't go away. Now, welcome back to the programme. Any health and fitness questions you have for Jackie Windle? Jackie, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Thank you very much for coming in to us.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you live and your personal life?
My personal life. I'm living in Tramore at the moment with my new baby.
What's your baby's name?
Henry is 1 and myself and John are shell-shocked at the moment. But I'm in Kingfisher now. I'm in Kingfisher 12 years since it opened, and I'm in the industry 15 years between swimming, class instruction, group instruction, fitness instruction, gym floor, lifeguard courses, the whole lot, you name it, I do it.
How many people do you employ over in Kingfisher, temporary or full-time?
God, we have 60 plus temporary, full-time basis. It's a huge facility. It's a massive operation. You might not think it because the turnover every one time, you might only see 2 or 3 people. But yeah, it's a huge operation actually.
One of the reasons we wanted to have you in was to talk about health and fitness and the new year and New Year resolutions, and people might feel a little bit, not depressed, but a bit annoyed with themselves after now's the 9th of January. And then the pressure, we'll talk about social media and all that sort of things. How big a boost do you see every January in terms of people joining and wanting to join?
It's massive. Obviously, January is our time to shine. It's all the instructors are well rested and we all have our game faces on. And it's a tough month physically for us, as well as pushing and doing promotions for the gym. And obviously, not to prey on people's vulnerability, but it is the time of year where people, after Christmas, they might have money put away, or they may have gotten Christmas presents to say, right, the new year, the new me. This is the buzzword, isn't it? Every January. It's a new year, it's a new me. How about we change that to maybe it's a new year, same me, but just different, just maybe better, maybe fitter, stronger, healthier. So what we do is obviously in every gym across the county, across the southeast, they would have special offers on and promotions, but it's just to attract people. The main thing is, yes, you can attract everybody all you want. You can be as glamorous as you want and you can paint the picture. You need to maintain and you need to keep those people happy and satisfied. So the main thing in Kingfisher, what we like to do is also our membership retention. We need to make sure that the members who joined last January are coming back this January. If not, there's something wrong.
You have the pool as well, which marks you out compared to other places. What do you do with people that join the gym in January and you kind of know them, like you'd know them from experience?
Yeah.
Unless these people develop a certain mentality, they won't be coming back in March or April.
That's the thing. It's all about mentality. You can commit to it and be there physically, but if you're not committed to it, you're not going to maintain it. And I would always advise people, don't join the gym and get overexcited and commit to 5 days a week, getting up at 6 a.m. and coming into the gym bright and early first thing. You're just going to burn yourself out. That's what happens to a lot of people. It might not be anything to do with our facility or the service we're offering. People can burn themselves out. They get excited, they get really motivated and they get really into it. The money is spent. As you know, you buy a new coat, you wear the coat to death. So you might buy your membership and you're really enthusiastic about it. But what needs to happen is you need to scale it back. You need to not get ahead of yourself. You need to really look back at what your fitness level is like. Maybe commit yourself to 2 or 3 days a week, maybe half an hour sessions, coming into us, being talked through things the proper way. So come to an instructor, get the proper advice, get the proper programming, whether it's up in the gym, going to classes, down in the pool. Every element of our facility, there's professionals there waiting, wanting to help you through this journey, and you will notice a difference. If you can make that part of your life, part of your routine, something you do without even realising, you will be able to maintain it a lot longer.
Is it a case of we mentioned burpees earlier on, is it a case of doing 50 burpees?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Being able to do 50 burpees is wonderful. It could be somebody's goal for the year.
I'd get sick if I did 10 burpees.
Do you know what though? There's adaptations to everything. And if that is your goal, Damien, we will get you there. If you want to do 50 burpees, we will train you and we will get you there. There's all different types of elements to fitness.
Where should people start in the terms of, let's say you're going to a gym. Should you say, OK, I'm going to do half an hour on the treadmill, just walking.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to do a little bit of strengthening your arms, or like a woman in her 50s or 60s, a man who's overweight, potentially obese, in his 30s. Where do you start?
Everybody is different. So where the person needs to start themselves with their self-awareness and their self-assessment. They need to know themselves what their goals are and where their weaknesses are. There's no point in somebody coming into us telling us they want to have a six-pack. But what we need to address is maybe this person might be overweight. They need to address that first. So what we would do is we would just start small. You would do a fitness test with us. So you'd obviously go in, you'd get up on the treadmill and show us what you can do, core strength wise, arm strength, leg strength. Before you're designed any form of a programme, you would need to do a self-assessment yourself and then come into us for your physical fitness assessment, and then we can get started.
Tell me about the pressures that are out there regarding social media. Like, You see guys in the running clubs and they're gliding along the Strand in Tramore, they're down on the Greenway in Dungarvan, wherever they are, and if you're in any way not very fit or just out walking the dog or whatever, and you think, God, I'd like to be like them. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be comparing yourself with others. No,
absolutely not. And it's so intimidating, and it's across the board with everybody. You might even have those fellas on the beach running like gazelles, looking at somebody in the gym lifting heavy weights and comparing themselves to it. Social media, it can be lethal as well as it can be wonderful. It can be a place of positivity, enthusiasm, where you can get ideas and inspiration from. It's a great place for us as fitness instructors and the Kingfisher to advertise, use it as a platform, to put out there what we offer. But it's huge for comparing ourselves to other people, and a lot of things, like, say, even for myself as a fitness instructor, I might look at American instructors, or even these models that sell the gym gear that I'm looking to buy. Everything's photoshopped in airbrush and it's not real. And as long as you know that, you can use it as a positive thing, but not let it get in on you, because it is very intimidating out there.
Because if you wanted to do a few social media posts, and some people may not have the strength and the courage to do that because they're looking at others who are slimmer or trimmer or are doing the angles for the selfies in such a way that the light makes them look great, and they actually really don't look like that.
Absolutely. They've got good Instagram husbands at home. Do you know what it is? We just, especially now in the Kingfisher, we're very aware to that. We get people joining up, and our classes are there to build fitness, to create a whole culture. But people might come to us and join and say, I'm not fit enough for that class yet. This is just mental. You need to be able to come to that class, and all our instructors are really well trained to deal with that. You start at your own fitness level and you progress at your own pace. we are very competitive, and we, as a person, you might compare yourself to other people in the classes, but that is not what it's about. And we do try to push that in the Kingfisher. We do try to make everyone welcome for whatever level or stage they're at.
Because social media and the way society is going it's sort of driving this idea of excellence, and we all have to be holistically perfect. Whereas sometimes I read an article in the Sunday Times over the weekend about things just being good enough. Just everything doesn't have to be perfect. A relationship doesn't have to be perfect. Just be good. It's okay.
Yeah. And there's going to be good days and bad days. You're going to have good weeks and bad weeks. You're going to get to the gym 3 times a week this week. You might only get there twice next week. You've other commitments. You've got work commitments, family commitments. You might get sick yourself. And January is an awful month for people. Then just burning the candle at both ends. You're back to work. Then you've taken on your new fitness regime, and you may have started this new diet, which also is another thing that needs to be looked at. But things can never be perfect. You need to strive to get through each day as best that you can. And it's the same in the gym. Come in and do your workout as best you can. You're going to have good days and bad days, but I want you to remember that the days you come in and you feel awful are the days that the workout probably counted more, because you would have used more energy, burned more calories just getting through that workout than you would normally when you're full of energy.
Obesity and being overweight is a massive problem in Ireland. It's getting worse. A gym instructor told me 2 years ago, yeah, come in and do your bit, but you have to basically look what you eat.
70%, if not more, is in the kitchen. So this new year, I suppose, to tie in with your fitness regime and you're exercising 2 to 3 times a week, maybe start small. In the kitchen, you want to just maybe clean things up. Don't do any crazy diets, because obviously they're not sustainable, and whatever weight you do lose initially, it'll be fast, but you will gain again, if not twofold. So I personally would just advise someone to look at your own diet, and for January, per week, cut one thing out, whether it's chocolate, if you have a sweet tooth, whether it's ice cream, or whether it's a drink, a nice glass of wine. You know, for the weekends, maybe in January, don't have an alcoholic beverage when you're out, maybe have some water. Just look at your own diet and try and plan out your meals. It's all about organisation and preparation. So you're packing your gym bag the night before, but you're also looking at the fridge and you're trying to organise your meals for the day, because what happens then as well is if you're not organised, you generally tend to go out and then you're rushing and everything's a rush, and you may be prioritising your workout over everything else, which then lead to poor nutrition. So that's the key. You do need to make sure you're on top of the nutrition first and foremost.
Because we've seen people that go to the gyms and they're just literally then coming away and they're putting in maybe beers at night, dead calories.
The biscuits come out, yeah.
Like a glass of red wine, what, you're talking 300 calories?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's not the worst of them, actually. So it has to just stop. Water. Water is the best thing to do. What happens is people sometimes see going to the gym as a ticket. A golden ticket to go home then and do whatever. You want to benefit your workout. So again, not to go too deep into it, but calorie deficit. You want to put out more than you take in. So you want to put out there, you want to exercise more than what you're actually taking in and eating. And then you're guaranteed to see results. It's a no-brainer. It's just being smart and being organised. Operation
Transformation started this week. We have people of excess, but there's a lot of other people that feel they're not at that excess, but they want to just, I suppose, get a little bit healthier and fitter without that social media pressure.
I know.
And coming back to this bull that we have, that you have to look in this way, that it has to be perfect. Perfection is what it's all about. Whereas, as I said earlier, no, it's okay just to be good enough.
I would advise people at this time of year, if that's the path you're on, is to maybe delete those influencers that are on your social media account that are making you feel that way, and follow more realistic people. Follow the instructors in Kingfisher. Follow our gym. We have a gym in Galway as well. Follow that page, and that's just more realistic. What we do now this week is we have, obviously, as you can imagine, our classes are jam-packed, full of normal people wanting to get fitter this year, and we're taking pictures and we're posting these pictures and we're showing people you don't have to look a certain way, you don't have to be a certain way, you just have to get up and do it. Be there, be present, be accountable, and you will get results, and we are there to help you through that.
And move. Get around.
And
walk.
With that Operation Transformation,
just walk.
They did, isn't the GAA, the initiative from the GAA, they're doing, putting the lights on, lighting Ireland up. They're putting their lights on while the show was on for the 8 weeks, that people can go to their local GAA pitch and walk around. So obviously it's dark, it's miserable in January. For those 8 weeks, there'll be floodlights on. You can get up, meet your friends and go for a walk. Even if that's all you do for the next 8 weeks, you will see results.
Jackie, thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good luck with little Henry.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in. I know you got a bit of a cold earlier in the week, did you?
I did. Oh, sure. I lost my voice on Monday. First day back after a 2-week break and I had no voice. But we'll be fine.
And then that's tough in the class when you're trying to motivate
It is,
them.
and you know what? And my class on Monday night was jam-packed to the rafters, and I was just...
What class was it?
Step aerobics, one of my busiest classes actually, and it was 30, 35 women there, and we were all just smashing it, and my voice went, so it wasn't ideal.
No men there, or did they go?
No, men in my body pump classes, but not in my step aerobics. So, but they are more than welcome to join. Again, in the Kingfisher, we are your one-stop shop for fitness, for individual and family memberships, catering for all, men and women, so come, try.
Barry said, eat less, plenty of walking and cycling, simple as that.
Yeah, get up and move, reduce and just do something that's attainable and you can maintain.
Jackie, thanks very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
Now I'm going to be talking to Ian Power in a second about children and alcohol and sex and smoking and all that. So let us know what your views about that is. Firstly, Emily has texted, the people of Dungarvan have to make the journey to Waterford on a regular basis with loved ones that are in UHW. So location shouldn't be an issue if a loved one is temporarily put in care choice. That is in from Emily. Another text in, Damien, can you please make some inquiries about people hospitalising UHW, serious cardiac complaints? I'm told there may be no appointments for some people until the end of January for angiograms. We'll find out about that. Ian Power, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Ian, thanks for joining us. We don't have an awful lot of time, but let's go through these figures. There's an increase of 6% in the numbers who said they've never had an alcoholic drink since 2014. These are for children aged between 10 and 17. 1 in 5 has tried e-cigs, 1 in 10 has smoked. Bullying is on the rise. What do you get from these figures in terms of a holistic approach to them?
Yeah, I guess the results of this study are pretty encouraging, really, and I guess they deliver some good news, which is great to see for a change about kind of the health of children generally in Ireland. And I guess it shows that the efforts that government, the HC, parents, particularly schools and other NGOs are having an impact, really, because this study is looking at the difference between 2014, as you say, to up to last year. So kind of a 5-year snapshot of a difference between the two studies. And I guess it's great to see that the number of children who are reporting having tried alcohol, who have tried a cigarette, and who are engaging in first sex kind of maybe earlier than we might like them to, all of those numbers are down. So the trends are going down, which is really, really good. I guess one of the things that I would be concerned about that you mentioned is the finding that, 1 in 5 12 to 17-year-olds have tried e-cigarettes. And that's pretty concerning because e-cigarettes, we don't know what the full implications of them are on your health. And often as well, they can lead into actually people ending up smoking as social smokers because of the kind of the habits that they induce. And also, to be honest, all of the e-cigarettes, generally speaking, they will have nicotine in them as part of their product. And so, it's not ideal for children to be getting hooked on nicotine at such an early age either. So, I think we would have to say we would welcome the fact that the Minister for Health is trying to regulate that in some way and has announced plans to do so. One of the other concerning things, I guess, really is that around 1 in 10 children between the ages of 10 and 17, are reported to be physically inactive, So you can understand,
yes.
If you have children that games and gaming and all that sort of thing is much more attractive perhaps than going outside on a cold, awful Irish day. So I think one of the things for us to be concerned about is just making sure that our children are actually getting out there and getting that 30 minutes. Well, actually, children are supposed to get double that. Adults are meant to get 30 minutes of activity, intense activity each day. Children are meant to actually get 60 minutes. So getting them outside for that hour a day or doing something that will get them physically active is super important.
It is. A lot of children don't get that because obviously they're getting lifts straight to the school door. They're maybe spending not much time out in the schoolyard and then they're back up in the house. What about drugs in terms of young people taking drugs? What are the figures on that?
Yeah, so the numbers are slightly down on 2014 in terms of the numbers who have reported this
illegal
particular
drugs,
survey just looks at cannabis use, and so 7% report using cannabis in the last 12 months, 4% in the last 30 days, and you'd have to imagine, they don't break down the stats for us in a very good way, but you'd have to imagine that's at the upper end perhaps of that 10 to 17 age group. So again, looking pretty static there. And I think one of the key concerns really that's been coming out from psychiatrists who are working in a lot of the emergency departments here in Dublin in particular is that they're seeing a lot of presentations of young people who are coming to them with episodes of psychosis and things like that. So I think the risks of cannabis have previously been downplayed, and I think it's something we need to take a bit more seriously in terms of the effects that it can have on your mental health. You know, a lot of people talking about the fact that, you know, maybe it's not as carcinogenic as smoking cigarettes is, but actually there are other impacts on your health that are really quite significant as well. And I think the other interesting thing from the study is that, you know, there is good news in terms of healthy eating. You know, the numbers of children who are daily consuming sweets and sugary drinks is actually down by 6%, but it shows that the numbers eating fruit and veg more than once a day is kind of remaining constant. So I think, you know, some more work needs to be done around that area too.
Yes. I know there's a lot more on your website, spunout.ie, spunout.ie, spunout.ie. Ian Power, keep up the good work, and thank you very much to you.
Thanks, Damien.
Thanks very much. Ian Power there from spunout.ie on the study of behaviours of teenagers. Let us know what you think. 083 333 975.